Hi, my name is Meagan Johnson, and this is Profit versus Pitfalls, Young Entrepreneurs. Everything we need to learn about the young people that are taking risks and chances today. So we have a little bit of a first. I am really excited because this is the first time we're having a previous guest come back, Vanessa Famighetti. She was with us about a month or so ago talking about her travel business, but things have changed, and Vanessa reached out and said her situation had changed and that she had started a new venture, and I'm going to let her tell us the name of her new company and what it's all about. Vanessa, hi. It's so fun to see you again. How are you doing?
I am doing well. I am doing really well. I'm excited to see you again and have the opportunity to talk about this. I think the fact that I was on here a few months ago with one company and a few months later I've moved on to the next is definitely indicative of the entrepreneurial journey. Mm-hmm. I think more often than not, our ventures and our dreams are going to have a couple names before they reach their final stage. And so that's what I'm moving through now. So my company, and this is my company, I own it 100%, is called IKAGAI Journeys. And IKAGAI is an ancient Japanese purpose-finding tool. So it's very cool. I recommend looking into it. It's spelled as my company is. And what IKAGAI does is it helps you find your true purpose, your reason for being, by intertwining four beautiful Venn diagrams. So you have what you're good at, what you love doing, what the world needs, and what you can get paid for. And so you might find that what you're doing, what you're good at and can get paid for is a vocation, but it leaves lack of fulfillment. You might also find that what you're good at and what you love to do is nothing more than a hobby unless you can find where it fits into the world. So the reason that my company is called IKAGAI Journeys is because I do believe that travel is the fastest and most powerful catalyst for helping us identify and change our lives in rapid periods of time. Be it a big decision that you're going through at home, a career change, a life change, a new chapter, the end of a relationship. Travel is what takes us and it strips us from our home. It strips us from everything that we're familiar with, and it puts us in a new environment. So what I do is I craft groups of women, up to 12 women per journey. And our guests range in age from, I'm 28, so hopefully younger than me, all the way up to 83 years old. And what our trips are is they are journeys that are built with a yogi's sensibility. So this is not a yoga retreat by any means. I think that everyone and their mother can find a yoga retreat in every town that they ever want to go to. But what these are journeys where we are exploring a region, but we're doing so, as I said, with a yogi's sensibility. So what that means is that we do integrate movement and yoga every day. We work with local teachers, local to each region that we visit. So on each trip, we'll visit about 3 little spots, say throughout a country or so, or throughout a region. And we'll have local yoga teachers in each of those hyper localities to show us what yoga and wellness means to that culture. So interwoven with our daily movement and our teachers that will help us connect to the local person that they know that does sound healing or has a hot spring or knows how to make natural wine with CBD, which is something I was on a call about today. Our local yoga teachers really act as our liaison, our guide when we're in that locale. So that's more so what IKAGAI Journeys is it's a yoga trip, a yoga journey. And one where we're intentional in the fact that we are purpose-finding and open-hearted. And as I said, we're all women. So it's an incredibly safe space. It's an incredible launch pad for someone's next chapter.
Okay, so wow, my head is spinning. So this is, when you and I spoke last, I know that because I agree with your ideas about travel, that, but taking ourselves out of our normal routine, our normal place, and traveling is really one of the best ways to understand not only ourselves, but also the world around us. And I think, again, and you and I have talked about this, that travel really makes us empathetic to other people. And nothing like travel. There's nothing like traveling, especially out of the country, out of your comfort zone. Nothing will make you more empathetic to other people and their situation. I mean, I think travel is the answer to a lot of problems we have.
Me too. Yeah. I sincerely believe it's the cure to a lot of heartache. But I would even go so far as to say just travel on its own is excellent. And I recommend it for everyone. But it is not, the secret sauce is in the group. And it's in the facilitation of the group. And it's in the preparation and the vetting of the members. So what really is magical is the fact that within 48 hours, I'll have someone who landed from London and someone who flew in from San Diego that are 35 years apart in age, crying together over a shared experience. And the reason is that when the foreign is all around us, then we lean into one another for the familiar.
When the foreign, say that again, when the foreign are all around us, say it again.
So when the foreignness, when the exoticism around us is greater than that is what is between us, we lean into one another. So when we are closer to one another in similarity than we are to the jungle outside in Bali or to the cliffs in Malta, we lean in together to one another to explore that. And it's somewhere between 48 hours and 96 hours that you start to see this absolutely beautiful magic happens that really reinforces to me why it is that people travel. It's not only because you're seeing something new, and it may not, sharing travel with people is excellent. I'm going on a trip with my friend in just a few weeks here. But when you connect with strangers, you are incredibly vulnerable. You're opening up about things that you did not expect maybe to open up about. And through the smart facilitation of a group like that, you can create community that lasts forever.
That is very true. And I know just from my own personal life that when my husband and I travel together, it's definitely, we have such a deeper connection than when we're at home. It's just, and I think your explanation really defines it, is that when it's foreign around you, you tend to lean in on each other more, and I really like that. Now, you mentioned that you vet the people that go on your trip. So let's say I'm a potential traveler for IKAGAI. What happens? I contact you, and then what?
We would just have a conversation about the trip that you're looking to join and a little bit about who you are. And generally within a 10 to 15 minute conversation, we'll both know if it's a fit mutually.
Okay.
And that just tends to be, if someone's looking for a different experience, maybe they'll self-select out, or, I'd rather not look at the ways that people might self-select out, but I do say that you can't just sign up and be done with it.
Okay.
If you signed up for a trip on our website, we would have a conversation with you just to make sure that you understand what goes into this trip. Because there's yoga and there's movement every day. So we do want to make sure that people are able to access that physically. That being said, we love yogis of any variety, right? Your garden variety person that goes to a yoga class once a week and it's, your average Americanized yoga, to the most strict Bikram or Iyengar follower, any level is welcome. And what we look for is that diversity, because what yoga teaches is that if we are all practicing, we are all one. And that's all, that's the group right there. That's the community, is the people that are moving and sharing that energetic flow with you.
Well, being a fan of yoga, I love the yoga tie-in.
Beautiful, yeah.
Is there, when you're talking to a potential traveler that's going to go on an IKAGAI trip, have you received any kind of odd questions? I know that when it comes to yoga, a lot of times when I talk to people about yoga, they say, "Oh, I'm not flexible, so I can't do yoga." And I think, well, yoga just really isn't about physical flexibility. It's about a whole different attitude. Do you ever get odd comments or questions?
Yeah, I think more so maybe there's a little bit of nervousness that this might mean like that you do need to be into yoga, or you do need to have some kind of experience. You do not. You do not need to have any kind of experience. What yoga is it's a move. Well, yoga is an 8-limbed path, right? But when we take on the asanas and when we do practice, physical practice through asana, it's a moving meditation, and it is conscious breathing and conscious movement. So that is powerful for anyone, whether you've done yoga 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 hours, or whether it's your first time.
Yeah.
Yoga is also not a sport and it's not competitive, which is great.
Right. I had a yoga instructor say it's a work in, not a workout.
I love that.
Yeah.
It is, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, if you're looking at what everyone else is doing around you, then, you know, you already kind of just should ask yourself, what am I looking to see? What am I trying to see?
Yeah. Well, now, Vanessa, I want to kind of change tracks because you did leave a partnership. You had a travel business with a business partner, and now you are a solo entrepreneur. And I think you have some interesting insights for other entrepreneurs when it comes to choosing partners, business partners, and also when it comes to determining your self-worth. And I think a lot of times, both young and old entrepreneurs, and even people working in 9-to-5 jobs, traditional jobs, I think we all struggle with determining our worth. What's our worth in the marketplace? So can you elaborate a little bit more on how to choose a partner, and also how do you determine your worth? And when I say your worth, we're talking money worth. We all are worthwhile people, but that money piece can be confusing.
Exactly. It's really identifying this company as a whole, holistically. How much of it do I bring to the table? And when I got into my last company, I didn't ask myself this. I just knew that there were things I didn't know. I knew that I don't know how to register a business. I don't know how to make things official. I don't know how to set up the accounting. I don't know how to do budgeting. I wasn't great with timelines. I was more so the product and the idea and the thought and the brain power in that sense.
Yeah.
And so I gladly and happily signed off 50% of the company to someone that was 35 years my senior. And in so doing, I had so much trust, right? Just this person has started businesses before. They know what's right. I'm lucky to even be latched on to that, right? As a young entrepreneur, I'm lucky that someone is, quote, taking me under their wing, even though I've paid for it. So that, I think, was a misconception that I had. And I think that that's a common misconception, is that if I'm going to get this off the ground, I need someone else, and I'm willing to give away almost anything just to hold on to my idea. So that's where I was. And I was receiving advice that, you know, this doesn't look quite right from, you know, a financial perspective, or even just from a managerial or executive position, like communication, tasks, ideation, execution. It was not at a 50-50 level.
So what I hear you saying is, after the deal had been made and you and your partner started to move forward, you didn't feel it was 50-50 any longer.
Absolutely. And then I think really when it came to the execution of the product, and when it came to really running the trip, running a trip full of paying customers and seeing how the partner interacts with those individuals and the effect that she has on those individuals, I decided that better late than never. And it was on that trip that I decided I'll do whatever it takes to get this ship righted. And that's the way I see it, is my ship was way off course. And I knew it was scary, and I knew that I was going to have to effectively kill my baby to bring to life a business over the course of a year. You feel so proud. There's finally something physical. I have videography from a trip I led. This is real. I can, like, my mailing list is growing, everything. But you have to make a really strong decision where you see, okay, I'm 50-50, and this I don't think is quite right. Now I have customers saying that they'll come on trip number 2. So I don't want to lose that, and I don't want to lose my company, but I'm also 28 years old, and I want to own this thing for a while. And if I'm seeing problems come up and red flags, I'm not going to ignore it.
Right. Do you think, Vanessa, when, you know, reflecting on it, do you think that there could have been different questions you asked of your potential partner, or how would you have handled that differently so that moving forward it would have been a better fit? Because it sounds like it was a bad fit. or maybe there was some different understandings on who was going to bring what to the table, what would you have done differently from the beginning?
From the beginning, I think I would have really slowed down for a second. And instead of realizing that I want this to launch as soon as possible, realizing that unless I start with a strong foundation, it's ridiculous. You're going to invest so much time and money, and if the foundation isn't correct, then it's not going to work out. The higher you build, the more dangerous you get with a poor foundation. What questions I would have asked are a lot more vetting in terms of expectations.
Okay.
A lot more vetting in terms of what happens if. There was never an exit strategy that we built. There was never a separation clause that we'd really considered too much. Have those conversations early on, because most partnerships don't last forever. One way or another, you are likely to either buy them out, they will buy you out, they will dilute, or you will add another investor. So make sure that that partnership is something that you want to get invested in. It is like going on a first date and signing a marriage contract. Because what you are signing is legal, and you are filing it with the federal government. So before you file federal documentation that says, I'm going to give this person this much, why don't you sit down and work a little bit harder at nailing out what you need help with, what you really can't do, not what you don't want to do, but what you cannot do, where you need the help, and then finding help where you need it. So what I needed help with wasn't understanding how to register and start a business. That's something I did not need a partner for. I needed an advisor for.
Okay. No, that's interesting. That's an interesting distinction you're making. So, because it sounds like from the beginning, you thought maybe I needed a partner so that we could register this business. But you're saying, kind of looking back at it, I really didn't need a partner for that. I just needed a business advisor. Am I understanding you correctly?
Absolutely. Okay. I could have just used an advisor.
Okay.
But I was in a position where I, like I said, felt so lucky that I willingly signed over things. Okay. And that is something that I'll never do again, right? And people always say, like, you know, you learn from the first time, but it sucks that I had to have mine. And
it's like the first pancake. When you're making pancakes, the first one doesn't count.
Yeah. But it still hurts, right? You still mix that batter.
Yeah.
You still gotta throw it away.
Yes.
So yeah, definitely a lot more qualifying questions. And then looking at your business plan as it evolves, how is that person going to fit into it? And how do you fit into it? And then what is the value of the company? Is the value you, or is it your product? Is it a combination of you and your product? Do you have a voice in it? Because in my product, I am definitely the face and the voice. I lead our trips. So really making sure that you've qualified that person over time so that when we come to the juncture of actually running these trips, the other person is someone like-minded enough to lead, you know, a transformative life journey trip for people. So yeah, I would say just wait a little bit. Think about it, write out the tasks and who you would need to hire. And then take a look at what percentage of your business is really undoable by you. And you may find that you need a partner over 50%. That's okay too, but work hard first to identify what you want, where you see it going, what you will need when it gets there. And if you already have the final product ideation and a great idea of how it'll get there, you might find that there's less to fill in than you realized.
Interesting. I think that is very insightful, because I would imagine both young and middle-aged and old entrepreneurs, sometimes when we feel like we're, and I know I feel this way sometimes, when we're at the disadvantage, it's like, well, I don't have all the tools necessary to get something done. We feel so grateful when someone takes an interest in our idea or our product or our process, and maybe we give away more than we should. And that's what it sounds like what I hear you saying.
Yes, and if you are listening and you are just on the precipice of starting your very first venture, just know that people are gonna come knocking. People are gonna knock, and they're gonna want to help every aspect. You're gonna log into LinkedIn, and people are getting in touch about helping with your accounting and your finance and your scouting and your this and your that. dependent upon what you're building. You're going to have friends reach out potentially out of the woodwork and say, hey, like, you're starting a company. Let me know if you need help. You are instantly going to want to glom on because it's scary to be solo in the beginning. You're going to glom on and say, oh my God, my homie wants to do this with me. And he says that he can take on all the tech part. Let me just give him that. Make sure that these relationships are relationships that, one, are going to last, right? So it's better to have a web guy forever than to hire your friend to build the site and then switch it over. And then make sure that, you want to turn a friendship into a business interaction and a business exchange, because it can't be undone, and it does effectively change the DNA of the friendship.
I think that's a very good point. So what I hear you saying is you had some friends contact you saying, hey, you're starting this business. I can do the website development for you, or whatever it is they offered.
I'll do this. I can do sales. I can do whatever. And your instant reaction as a solopreneur at that point is to say, yes, please, please. And like, what do you want for it? Now, you just really need to think first if that person is going to be a good long-term fit for your business, and whether you will feel comfortable firing them.
So you're talking about if I'm going to feel comfortable firing my friend.
Yeah.
Ooh.
You got to make sure the friend that you're hiring is someone that you're willing to say, it's not working out. I hope we're still friends. And
have you had to do that, Vanessa?
Yes. Oh. And we're great friends. We're still great friends.
Are you really? Wow.
I had her doing my social media. It was excellent, but it just didn't quite work out. The messaging wasn't there. In my eyes, the value wasn't there. Just meaning that, not that you're not doing valuable work, but I could do it at the same pace or cheaper, in my opinion. Or I could do other work for more money, and it just financially wasn't making sense. And so I let her know that. And we're still great friends. And it's because I started the conversation that way. I may fire you at some point. I don't have more money than this. I'm paying you what I can, and I might run out and have to ask you to stop. So do not rely on me entirely.
What a good conversation to have. Was that something that someone advised you to do, or did you just think this is a smart thing to do?
I think that kind of just came naturally, understanding the landscape of where we are as remote workers, where we are as people maybe with full-time jobs that can take on side work, as freelancers that have multiple gigs. I didn't want to be anyone's bread and butter.
Right.
I was not my own even, in your first year of business. So just making sure that they're not reliant necessarily too much on me financially. I have someone currently who works for me for IKAGAI Journeys. Again, an amazing friend, someone that I'm going to hang out with this Saturday and go to the beach. But I wrote to her today and I said, regarding, work for next month, I'm going to have to ask you to just hold off, because right now I don't think I need you this month. I'm going to Europe. I'll do the in-person scouting. So basically I'm telling her, okay, you just lost 20 hours of work for next week. But we already had the understanding that this is extra where it comes in, and it may stop.
Yeah, that sounds pretty clear. What advice would you give somebody who was a young entrepreneur and they're trying to figure out financially what it is that they're worth? Because I think that's a struggle. Is there any steps you went through to decide, money-wise, this is what I'm offering, this is what it's worth?
The way that I went through it would definitely be in terms of percentage, because we were talking about 100% of a company ownership. And so from there, I was able to more easily delineate, I do this, I keep track of that. But then the reason that I was fully aware that this was not going to last is because it took the execution of the actual product to see, I'm in fact the face of this, and I'm in fact what people are taking away, and I am in fact the most important puzzle piece of the actual trip. And if that's the case, I'm not 50%. I've created the trip, I've done a lot of the sales, so much, and then I've operated it. So I have these relationships with our customers where people from my last company are already signed up for my first trip here at the next company. And that's because I am the product.
It's an interesting dynamic when you are the actual product. I had spoke to a couple earlier this week where they had a physical product. They had a shampoo line, but that's like, I've got this physical product. I can compare it price-wise to other things that are like it. But when you are the product, it makes it just a little bit trickier to find out what price tag do you put on that.
Oh, yeah. And this is more so for like service operators, or if you are a life coach, or if you're working on some other similar business where there's a service basically that you're giving. You need to understand how much of it is mechanical, right? That you're doing, like, okay, so I set up the Zoom, I get people to log in, I host the webinar, I do the thing. Yeah. And then you need to separate out how much of it is because I'm there. So how much of this interaction, this participation, and these sales are because I am the face of them. And I'm not saying that every partnership needs to come to an end if you determine that, whoa, one person is the spokesperson. But be ready for that spokesperson to ask for renegotiation.
Ah, interesting. So what's interesting is a partnership. Do I hear you correctly that you should feel comfortable to renegotiate the agreement? So if you're moving forward and you find out, wow, I'm either the face of the company, or maybe the person that's not the face of the company is doing lots more, that renegotiating the agreement is okay?
It's absolutely okay, and it is advisable over a full divorce, because the full divorce sucks. So if you can renegotiate, or you can meet with a mediator, I know it sounds like crazy probably if you're sitting there with your first company and you're like, okay, every dime matters. I'm going to pay a mediator $150 to listen to our argument, but the money could save in the dissolution of a partnership is immense. Oh, wow. So I would say, start a relationship with a mediator early on, almost as if you're in a romantic relationship, and you start going to couples counseling early on to make sure that nothing happens.
Did you and your previous partner consult a mediator?
We did not.
Okay.
Because something occurred, and I had made the decision that there was absolutely no way for me to continue with her name attached to mine at all.
Yeah, sometimes when it's time to move on.
Yeah. And it was great. I mean, it was, what a journey. I built the whole thing. We operated the whole trip, and I've destroyed it all within a year. And now here goes the next one. And but I think as you're dissolving a partnership, your grit gets so much more intense. You just think, okay, I've got it. I've got the key. That didn't work out, but I'm back on the horse. And I know that, at least for myself, I felt the desire to re-register as soon as my product came into my mind. And
did you say the grit becomes more intense? Is that what you said?
Yeah, or your grit, you get grittier. Like at this point, okay, so listen, I didn't want to look at government docs. I didn't want to do the agreement stuff. I didn't want to do all that. Well, this is what happens. Now I'm the one having to read the legalese on our dissolution paperwork, and having to read the legalese from her lawyer about accounting, and having to send things to my advisor, who is now an external person that I would have to pay. It's like trying to skip a math class just to get to the next level. Like, it's just gonna suck, so teach yourself as you go. Because it was due to my hatred of finances and paperwork that I almost got, that I was in a situation to begin with, and that I had to dig really hard and really aggressively out of. I had to say, okay, I was afraid of finances before, but I'll stay up for 48 hours straight and learn this right now, because I'm not getting taken advantage of.
And I don't know about you, Vanessa, but I find that when I avoid something like that, be it, understanding a financial document or not wanting to read some difficult legalese, and the more you avoid it, and then when you finally do it, and maybe it is extremely painful trying to decipher it and figure it out, but once you've done it, you're like, well, that really sucked, but I feel so much better. I feel better now than the bad it sucked. Like, it's really sucked, but I feel so good. It kind of deletes the sucky part.
at me. I learned something else. Like I equipped myself, and now I know this too, you know, and now I know what can happen. Like, it becomes more magical the more you realize, oh my gosh, I know how to run a business. The only way that can happen is if you slowly but surely make your way through like all aspects of it.
Yeah. All right, Vanessa, this has been great. Two things I want to touch upon. What nugget of advice would you give an entrepreneur, young, middle-aged, old? What little nugget of advice would you give them? If there's one little piece of advice you could give.
I would say, no matter what you think that your part in the company is, whether you're the designer, the engineer, whether you just created the idea but you don't know how to bring it to market or anything, I want you to look down the road here, do a 3-year, even just 3 years, and look at what you need, what you don't have, where you see it, you know, coming together, and where you want it to be in 3 years, and what you want your role to be in 3 years. Now, if you want your role in 3 years to be head of this, that, and the other, then make yourself head of this, that, and the other then, and learn it before you take a partner on. Because it would be ridiculous to hire a marketing manager, let's say, while you're teaching yourself marketing so that one day you can become the marketing manager. My nugget of advice would be figure out the role and the percentage of the company that you want to be running and responsible for in 3 years, and backtrack from that. And wait, if you can, to hire a partner. It is always easier to hire help and to take on investor money to hire help than to get a partnership. So consider your options first, and make sure that you discuss the importance and the lasting nature of the documents that you're signing with your partner. If you guys are 24, 25 years old, these are federal documents that will affect your credit, that will affect your money, that will affect your taxes. They're real. Yeah. So if you think that you are worth more than a certain amount, but not at the moment, then wait a second and figure out how you can make yourself worth more now.
I think that's some great advice. Thank you. So final thing I want to hear, Vanessa, how do people find you, and how do we go on one of these journeys?
Absolutely. So go to IKAGAIjourneys.com. It is spelled as you see behind you on her screen, IKAGAI, IKAGAI. Also, have some fun with that purpose finding tool. Google it, play with it. But go to IKAGAIjourneys.com, drop us your email, we'll be in touch. We're still getting everything ready and pumped up for our first trip. We have Sicily and Malta coming up, so we're going to be exploring southern Sicily as well as the main city UNESCO World Heritage Site of Valletta, Malta, and the sister island of Gozo, where they are known for their natural cave wines and goat cheeses and amazing sound baths and all this cool stuff. So head over there. We'll be dropping some information soon about that trip. Depending on when you hear this, it might already be up. Schedule a call to have a chat. It will just be me, and I would love to learn a little bit more about you, a little bit more about what you're looking for. And then as you join, the rest of the trip is built in tandem with you and the community that's joining. So head over to IKAGAI Journeys. If you are into Instagram, head to @IKAGAI Journeys, Facebook, IKAGAI Journeys. And if you want to take a look at me personally and just get in touch, I would love to hear from you. My personal Instagram is Ness, Ness Travels, Ness Travels.
Oh, I'm now focusing on when you said goat cheese and wine. That my mind kind of caught that. I just now I'm thinking about what we're going to do once this interview is over. Goat cheese and wine.
Yeah, it's seafood wine that's built in barrels into the ground in these ancient caves in Malta. It's just, they're doing cool stuff everywhere, and I want to take people to see it.
I think, again, as you know, we've talked about it, travel is amazing. I think a trip with you, though, is going to be like otherworldly. Though it sounds like traveling with you is just going to be a completely different experience. Vanessa, this has been so much fun. Thank you so much for coming back on. This was a first for Profits versus Pitfalls, Young Entrepreneurs, to have someone return. So I'm so glad you contacted me and wanted to come back. Thank you. And I can't wait to see and hear from you and hear all about the journeys next year. The first trip is in 2022, correct?
Yes. Summer 2022, we'll be doing Sicily to Malta, followed by Portugal, more in Europe, and then we're looking at Latin America, Asia as it opens up, Africa. The options are limitless because no matter where you go in the world, someone's doing something yoga related.
Yes.
And we're going to do it.
This is terrific. Thank you, Vanessa. I can't wait to see you again real soon.
Thank you, Meagan. Always a pleasure. You have a good one.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye.